живіт, і в нього є душа.
It's a stunningly visual film. The camera is moving constantly. It almost feels like you're in flight with the helicopter. And one of the opening statements that is made is that this is the helicopter, and the helicopter has a soul. It's a sign to the ground infantry in the Ukraine that they're not fighting alone. They have more help that is always present some way, somewhere up above them, more machinery, more power, regardless of whether or not they have defense systems on board some of these helicopters. Some of them are quite old, but they're willing to use everything they can to survive and to fight this war. These guys are afraid. They're interesting characters in their own right just because of the scenario that they're in. The fact that they're fighting in a helicopter and the helicopter itself has a soul, it becomes an identity and a character in the story right alongside the actual pilots who are flying them. This is a really interesting little tale. It's not necessarily a propaganda piece in any way. It's just it's showing you one side of the war that's really interesting, and I found that quite gripping. The pacing is steady. It grabs you right off the top with the visuals. It goes through the character introductions, and it builds to a bit of a crescendo towards the end of the mid section before it slows things down again and reminds us that this is a real war with real people, and it ends on a more somber beat, but an optimistic one.
I loved the likening of these war helicopters to guardian angels protecting Ukraine. The Ukrainian helicopter pilots are all so young, and you really see that in the end credits when they're showing the ages of everybody, and how many, battles they've seen. Um, this film really highlighted the sacrifices of these young men, how young they were, and how much they gave up to fight for Ukraine. And it really showed how they guarded and defended the skies, how they're the guardian angels. I love that they personified their helicopters, and made sure to be respectful to their helicopters so nothing happened. Um, I also thought that this film had some really amazing shots of the action, and showing from the perspective of the helicopters, um, going through the skies. I thought there was some really, really amazing shots. Um, and I also thought that the music was really well done in this film. It helped with the intense footage that we were seeing, and the here the heroics of these young men that are fighting for Ukraine. So that was really cool, and I loved like hearing from these men, and hearing what they gave up, and their perspective, and really their humanity.
I really like this a lot. Everything from beginning to the middle to the end. It was a great length, pace, everything that was included in here, all the different footage, the beautiful footage that was in here. I loved all the different camera angles from inside the helicopter to outside to underneath the helicopter. It really kept me engaged, and I loved the setup and, with describing in the beginning kind of what this is about, what we're about to see, and then the introduction of all the soldiers. And wow, what bravery, for these soldiers who had to defend the Ukraine. And I believe that there was a lot of people recruited that they weren't even expecting that. So to me, this it's just amazing to hear these stories. And I loved the description of, that cherubs were described as God's means of transportation in the Bible. I love that whole setup, and the whole, title of this, which seems like a series to me, kind of left me wanting more. So I really hope this is a series, and it also was novel 1. So I'm assuming there's more novels. But I really loved the description of these men, and how brave they were, and how fear is normal, one of them said. And just, the bravery and the courage and the motivation it took for them to do what they did. Really just love the visuals in this, the landscape, the helicopter, the soldiers. I love that the helicopter was described as having a soul. I like that a lot, and how not only do these soldiers value people, but they value this helicopter and their transportation. And, you know, that if you're not scared, you're dead. And I think being scared really makes you appreciate everything.
This gave a really in-depth look at the soldiers who fly the combat helicopters. We witnessed their rituals and experienced flight with them in this documentary. Videos taken while in flight gave a really unique perspective of combat, likely with the use of drones or also a camera attached to the chopters. You got a chance to see these flares up close, and it was magnificent and thrilling. Some of the shots that we saw, particularly the ones taken from directly underneath the chopper rather. The sentimental aspect is when these men are asked what it is they miss the most. And a lot of the things that they miss are very simple: family time, their bed, a mother's cooking. And most of these men are so young and they're clearly risking their lives for their country. And they have an immense sense of dedication to this that was very evident throughout this documentary.
I thought it was a great like portrait of Ukraine soldiers. I thought it was fascinating. You know, the strength of a documentary rides and dies on the subject matter, and I've never thought about what it's like to be a Ukrainian pilot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I always hear about the war, and it's kind of abstract to us here in America, but like this made it very real, very in your face, and it felt like similar to like the World War II docs where you like where it, like talks to the soldiers or whatever, and they like get to know the soldiers and they show you around their life, like same type of thing. And I think this can be preserved for history. Hopefully they win, and that type of thing. But I like the approach of making the life of a Ukrainian fighter pilot, Ukrainian soldier, Ukrainian fighter real and in my bedroom. You know what I mean? Also, a helicopter's objectively cool. Unfortunately, they had to be used for war, but all the shots of helicopters I was rocking with.
I like this sort of homage to the civilians that became soldiers overnight. The fight is still going, people die every day, and Ukraine's future sits on the passion and determination of their warriors and allies all over the world. The concept for the helicopter is quite deep, and the shots in slow motion and add drama to the already tragic situation. They have great cinematography and settings. It's overall quite deep and inspiring, and you feel the brotherhood and the companionship, and all around this cherubim concept that they explain what it is, what it comes from, and how it translates into their survival transportation.